Hi, welcome. My name is Anna and this is my knitting channel where I talk about all my knitting life. I talk about the things I'm making, the things I want to make, and my dreams for the future, and all the things that I gather and acquire along the way. I'm really glad you're here. If this is your first time here, if you stumbled across this channel, I hope you'll stick around. And if you're returning, I'm really glad that you have come back for another viewing. I hope you enjoy this episode. My daughters are home today, so we might be interrupted. Yes?
How much candies are we allowed to eat?
You can have 2 right now.
Okay.
Eat them at the table, please.
Okay. And I can't believe it's sunny out and we're still this night.
It's exciting. She was asking how many Halloween candies they could have. So, one of my daughters is sick and the other one I usually send to childcare, but I didn't see the point of sending her to childcare this week because I was already having a child at home sick, and I really wasn't planning on working today anyway. So all that to say, we have 2 extra bodies running around the house, so we'll see how many interruptions we can rack up. So if you've never been here before and you stumbled upon this channel, I'm really glad you're here. I hope you'll stick around and see what I'm about and maybe find some inspiration along the way. And if you've been here before, I'm really glad you're back and I really appreciate you being here. So today I will talk about some works in progress and some knitting dreams and plans and some shop news. I have some exciting news about something I've never done before. And I will also share a little story at the end. So grab your knitting or your crafting and a drink and settle in. So I don't have any finished objects this week, but I still have some works in progress. I've still been swatching and submitting designs, so I have yet to see if that work is going to result in anything, but I won't be able to show you the swatches until I know what's happening with them. I do have a failed swatch of this little one, which I decided I didn't like. I wasn't a fan of how my baubles looked. They're not very perky. Everybody likes a perky bauble. And I just wasn't generally a fan of how they looked when they're surrounded by yarn overs. They kind of fall into the middle of the fabric almost. It's not like they're not on the back. It's not like they popped out to the back like they often do. They just kind of, the fabric kind of stretched out and they just fell into the middle of it. So that was an idea that I won't be using. My other works in progress, I'm hoping to tell you about extensively. So this is my Alpenglow sweater by Andrea Knits, and it is a design that uses magpie fibers, I think, and all of these different colors of slip stitches are supposed to be done in Spincycle yarn, which is a color changing yarn. It's a really expensive yarn that I personally cannot afford. Although I don't think you need very much for this design because it's just these little slip stitch stripes, but all the same, when I saw this design and saw that it was a sport weight, I realized I had quite a bit of non-superwash sport weight in my stash, and also I have a lot of DK superwash yarn. And in my experience, if you use a superwash yarn that is one class thicker, you can substitute it for an untreated yarn that is thinner. So if I have a pattern that is a non-superwash sport weight pattern, I could use superwash DK and get a similar gauge. That's how it has been in my experience. So I will try on this little sleeveless number for you. So it is a really great fit. It has this really nice folded over collar, and the color work is lovely, and I don't know, it's given me like Christmas vibes. I don't know why. Maybe it's just this deep tealy spruce color, but I don't know, I think it could be my Christmas sweater, or maybe it's the combination of this fuzzy Surrey alpaca with the deep evergreen kind of color. It looks like snow on trees. I'm not sure, but I think this could be my Christmas sweater. Oh. So I will tell you what I did differently. So one, I basically used all stash yarn. So one of these colors, this is actually made up of 2 yarns. One of the colors is olive merino mohair that I used for the classic by Spincycle, and I have like 3 or 4 balls left of it. And the other color is Cumbria fingering by the Fibre company, and it's a merino masham, but it's has a higher and smoother, it's a higher twist and a smoother yarn than the olive, but a very similar color. And so I'm alternating those two. So the Cumbria, I had 2 skeins of it and had no plans, but it was in my stash. And then I had leftovers of the olive, and then all of these contrast colors are stash yarns. This one is Ludite Yarns by Kalia, and it is a fingering weight, but it's quite lofty, and so it easily knits up as a sport weight to DK. These are my floats. I think it would be a really beautiful reversed sweater too. I'll show you inside. So those are my floats. So I did a lot of things differently in this pattern, and you might have noticed a couple of them already. So number 1, I'm alternating 2 yarns for the main color, and I'm doing that using the easy alternator method, and I know Prof Pearl has a tutorial on it. Basically all you do is put the yarn that you're not using forward and then continue knitting with the other strand that you're substituting in. Then when you get to the beginning of round, you take the old yarn for, would you call this forward or that forward? Towards the front of your work, that's where the old, so the previous round, okay, so let's start again. You're starting off at your beginning round. You have your old yarn. You bring it forward to the front of your work and leave it there. Then you take your new yarn and you knit around to the beginning of round again. You bring your yarn that's sitting at the front of your work on the right side and pull it forward. No, pull it backwards to the back of the work, and then continue and use the other one. Bring it, I'm not explaining this. Go see Professor Pearl's tutorial. She does it very straightforward and not nearly that complicated. It's so simple and it doesn't change your beginning of round at all, which is different than the helical method of alternating skeins. So you never get confused as to where you are in the pattern. I don't know if you can do helical knitting when there's any kind of pattern involved, like if you're doing stranded color work or mosaic knitting. I'm not sure if that even works, but this one does. And you cannot see where I changed yarns. It's right along this line here. You can't, yeah, these two yarns are not really that similar. Like they look different to me. One is lighter, one is darker. One is fuzzy and one is smooth. But when while I've been alternating them, they've been really nicely transitioning. Okay, so yes, the yarn weights was a big difference. So basically this sweater has cost me nothing except for money I put in to my stash months or years ago. So that's always a good feeling. And some of this is like really old stash yarn. So I've used some Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Sport. This one, and then these are speckled DK Superwash yarns. Some of them are from Ginger Snap yarns, some are from Brine Dye Works. Here's that Sport again, and here I held Luddite yarns single ply with the Surrey alpaca. So there's some speckled superwash, and all the solids are non-superwash. I also changed the yoke depth. So in the pattern, I think it says you're supposed to keep knitting until this measures 6.5 inches from here, from the collar edge to here. To here, which is measured from the front where you don't have short rows. So, and then you're supposed to divide for body and sleeves. But I know that 6.5 inches is way too short for me. Those would be cutting up into my armpits. So I think I used 9 inches, possibly, or 8. I don't know. I used whatever yoke depth I had for my size in the Legacy pullover because I really like the fit of that sweater. So I added some extra yoke depth. I tried to color strand these sections instead of using mosaic knitting. I don't love mosaic knitting. I would much rather color strand. I find it's very rhythmic and fast. But I tried it and the little blocks were too big. They were too big and obvious. This one, this little slip stitch mosaic puckers the fabric from top to bottom, so it makes it look, it's a little bit wider than one row, but it's not quite as wide as 2 rows. And the 2 rows color stranding was just too in your face, I thought. So that was very clever design work by Andrea Mowry, I thought. And I also added an underarm gusset. So I find if I follow circular yoke patterns and you join you divide and you cast on sleeves at the underarm, and if you work straight, mine kind of like flares out at the back a little bit. And I like to put, it's almost like a V-shape decrease in my underarm and on my sleeve, and that just provides a better fit on me. So I only decreased 4 stitches, I think. Yeah, I only see 4 stitches decreased. So there's 2 here and 2 here, and the same on the other side. And I'll do the same when I pick up stitches and follow the pattern for her decrease repeats. First I will do 2 and 2. And yeah, I don't put them right in the center. I put them off to the side. And if I kept going, I would keep bringing them a little bit closer. Another mod is that I did a 2x1 ribbing for the collar instead of 2x2. That was just a mistake on my part. I did not pay attention to the pattern. I just breezed through it and thought that's what it said. I also added a superwash liner to the inside. I felt like this very rustic 1-ply yarn would be too rough on my neck, so I just added, instead of continuing the double folded collar in that one, I just added one of the superwash DKs that I have a lot of. And I also seamed down the edge of the collar with live stitches. So I keep the live stitches on my needle, and it's similar to a Kitchener stitch when you're seaming, so you don't bind off your stitches first and then sew it down. I keep my live stitches and I do the thread through knitwise, then I seam through the through the edge of the pickup and do purlwise and so on and so forth. And I'll put a link for a really good tutorial for that that I've included in patterns before. I really like that technique because sometimes when you bind off, your bind off can be tight and that can restrict the stretchiness of your collar. Also, if you seam it, you have to be really careful to do a lot of loops in your seaming so that it's stretchy enough. So if you do this method with the live stitches, you get quite a bit of stretch, but you also get the structure because this original collar was cast on, so that gives you some firmness in your collar, but you still have a lot of stretchy. Goodness. So that's all about this one. I kind of stalled on it because I had to set up a new pair of needles for the sleeves, and that always seems to slow me down. I also always put my sleeves on dental floss because you can put the dental floss right through your Chowgoo needle hole. There's a little hole in the base of it, and you can thread your dental floss right through, and you don't even have to tie a knot. You can just fold that dental floss up against the needle, and then you slide your needle out, and then all your stitches are on dental floss. So I always carry a roll of dental floss with me everywhere, and yeah, there's like strings of dental floss around my house that have not been used in people's mouths, but probably alarming when you come to visit. My next work in progress is the Gardy Cardi, which you've seen a few times, but looks a little different every time. So I did end up ripping it out again. So it looked a little different last time. It was the same up to about here, and then I ripped out, and now I've added some more. So I think I'm done the the length of it, but I am running out of yarn, so I'm not really sure what to do now. Don't really want to buy yarn for a scrappy cardigan, but I might need to. Oh, I put it on backwards. On the wrong side, it's a little bit more stripy. You might not notice, but I notice. So this one is a little bit, it's just slightly subtler, the transitions, because when you change colors on, you do it on the wrong side rows, and then it, the garter bump has part of the previous color and part of the new color. I can tell my throat is irritated by this dry air. So yeah, so I am now going to be casting on the sleeve. I will write it to be picked up and worked in the round, but personally I find working sleeves seamlessly top down to be a real pain, because you have to turn that entire garment, and this is a heavy, like, it is a lot of fabric. I think this part weighs 500 grams already, this body section, and I haven't even done the sleeves yet. So I don't want to, I find that hard on my wrists, having to turn it around all the time. So I'm just going to cast on my sleeve stitches and work them separately. It's more portable that way, and it's lighter, and then I'll just seam it together, and they'll be done in reverse stockinette, but of course I will make it so it's all knit, not purled. And yeah, and I need to figure out what to do about yarn, because that's all I have for light color and medium. That has to do both sleeves, which I don't think will be enough. So I've got that one in writing. I'm trying to write it up right now. And once I get a sleeve done, I think I probably could call for testers pretty soon, because well, once it's gone through tech editing, that is. Because once the sleeve is done, then I'll just have to figure out the ribbing. And I think, yeah, I think that's a good length for what I want. It's really cozy. I really am happy with it. It's just a little bit wild. Like, I don't know, that is a lot of color for me, so I'm not sure. I hope the contrast colors that I have for the collar will sort of tone it down a bit. I'm someone who like loves to use my scraps, but then I have a hard time finding scrappy projects that I actually like, because it's hard to make them look cohesive because they're scraps. So for me to put a scrappy project in my wardrobe is like a big step, but we'll see. It is really, really cozy, and I love this construction. So it's a drop shoulder, but all this entire piece up to here is done as one piece, and then you split and work this little section straight, and then you join it again, and it's all one piece, and it's super mindless. Yeah, that's my second work in progress. And then my third one is the Seed Star Hap, but I won't talk to you much about it. I've knit on it a lot, but you can't really tell, and it's all sort of scrunched up on this set of needles. It's worked in the round. It's going to be a blanket slash square shawl. It's going to be quite large, like 5 feet wide, so I need to get on that. It's in lace weight. It moves very slowly, that Seed Star have. That one is a collaboration with the Fibre company. They sent me the yarn and I told them that I would design this pattern and release it in July of next year. So Meadow is like a mix of wool, llama, silk, and linen, and it's a lace weight. So it has like 500 meters per 100 grams. But it's really nice to work with, and when I blocked a little swatch, and it just looks so nice once you block it, so it's very luxurious. So I have some exciting news. It makes me excited anyway. So last November I submitted a design to the Fibre company and it was accepted. It was my very first design submission, so I did not expect that at all. And so I developed that pattern all last winter and it is being released today. And I am really excited about it. So the Fibre company is offering kits right now and you can use a discount code. I will put it in the description box below. I think it's the name of the pattern, then a 10 at the end, but I will write it on the screen or put it below. And you can order it on their website. The set is called the Sagittarius set. So this was a collection called Almanac 2, and it's based, the theme was the sky. So we were supposed to be inspired by the night sky. So I actually was inspired by Northern Lights, which are not really constellations, but are a night sky feature where I live. And I came up with this twisted stitch ribbing pattern. So it's just on the ribbing of the hat. And the set also comes with mittens and a cowl. This is actually my very first prototype, which I changed some things about. But it is knit in Tundra. Tundra is a alpaca yarn. Let me just make sure that I have my information correct. It is bulky alpaca, merino, and silk. It's really nice to work with. I thought it was gonna fuzz a lot, but honestly, after I washed it once, it just kind of, it didn't fuzz. So like I felt like it was fuzzing while I was knitting with it, but then as a finished product, it hasn't. It's kept up really well, especially considering there's alpaca in it. It has kept its structure fairly well. So if you like this pattern and you're interested in it, please go and purchase it from the Fibre company. That might seem like you're not supporting me, but they were fantastic to work with, and I think that they paid really well considering the kind of payment designers usually get. They covered a lot of costs that other places seem to expect designers to cover. I dealt with 3 different people through email and they were all lovely, and the Fibre company is known for supporting new designers, the ones that aren't known, and they have launched some careers. Like I think Sari Norland started for her first published designs, I think, were for the Fibre company. So yeah, they're just a great company. So if you are interested in it, please support the Fibre company too. They have very high standards for their yarn production and they make a really nice product. And selfishly, I would like them to hire me again. So if this pattern is a roaring success for them, then maybe they'll want to do that. So yeah, go check it out. I would love that. And I hope you like it. It's kind of a big deal for me, so I'm happy to share that with you. And make sure you use the discount code if you're interested in the kits. I think that's pretty much all for knitting content, like knitting products. I did buy some things. So nothing super exciting, but I did go to Michael's for the first time in ages. Michael's is a big box craft store in Western Canada, maybe all over Canada. And their yarn is not really something I'm super interested in, but I went and looked at their beads for submission idea I had, and it was like completely overwhelming how many beads they had. I've never seen a wall of beads like that. I thought I had about 15 minutes I could pop in there with Rosie. So Rosie is 4, so there's no efficiency shopping with a 4-year-old, but I thought I would just go pop in, see what they had, grab something, and get out of there. But there was one full wall, another partial wall, and they were all gorgeous, and I was just like completely overwhelmed. It did help me that I needed to be able to fit yarn through the hole, so that kind of limited me, but they weren't organized by that, so it was very time consuming. But anyway, I just thought you might be interested in that. And have you ever knit with beads? I never have. These are the 2 that I picked, and for my submission I just kind of like combined these kinds together like this. Anyway, I can't show you the swatch, but I was having a lot of fun with that, and I just had, there was so many colors, and like these ones are stone beads, like semi-precious stones, and these ones are metal, and they had like tons of different kinds, like ceramic and plastic, and yeah, it was themed and not themed, and colors. And anyway, I just thought that would be interesting information for you guys. And then in their drawing and painting section, I found these sketchbooks. So I love journals that are blank, that have no dots. No dots, no lines. I do use bullet journals, but really they're just like lists. And I like these for my design notebooks and for just sketching and writing notes. So I find them hard to find, and Moleskine sells them, but they're very expensive, and I would have to drive quite far to a store that carries them, and then still they don't have the unlined ones. They just have the bullet journal ones or the lined. So anyway, I thought you might want, they had lots of colors of these too. They had pink and gray and light blue, and they had a cork one, but I found it kind of rough on my hands, so I didn't get that one, even though it was beautiful. So this one was $10, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. I just wish that it was coiled, but that's okay. I think so. That's all my acquisitions I was going to share. And for plans and dreams, the Fibre Frolic is coming to Edmonton November 12th and 13th. That's not this coming Saturday and Sunday, but the following one. So I will be attending that at least Saturday, maybe Sunday. I'm going to a workshop on Saturday run by Anna Hunter of Long Way Homestead, and it's going to be on breed specific knitting, which I am more so interested in that in terms of, as a shepherd, I'd like to know what other kinds of sheep I might want to get. And maybe she'll know like farms that raise them in this part of the world. And so I'm excited about that one, and yeah, just seeing everybody and seeing old friends and new friends. And if you are going, you could just write a little note in the comment section, because sometimes I have a hard time connecting Instagram handles and faces, or YouTube names and faces. So yeah, just comment below if you're going, and I'd love to see you. And you should come and say hi. Just tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm this person on this social media, and then I'll remember who you are. Yeah, it should be a really great event, it sounds like. And also, Holly is sending me a huge prize package, just like in the spring she did that also. It should be just as great and amazing as the last time. So if you are interested in that, I will be drawing a winner probably on Instagram, because I probably won't record another podcast video before the event, and I'd like to drop it off at the event if you are going, or yeah, I'd like to draw it before the event. So if you're interested, I know it's on its way, it's been shipped, and I have a tracking number, so check out my Instagram, the.bluebird.box. All those, where you can find me, is all linked in the description below if you're not sure. Yeah, I think I just have dream knitting now. So Carly from Northwoods Knit Co. is a designer in BC, and she mostly does accessories. And she just recently came out with a sweater sock collection. So it's a sock collection called My Favorite Sweaters or something. And they are just beautiful. And I don't knit socks, but she makes me want to knit socks. And I really want to knit like sweaters based on all those socks. They're just stunning, these gorgeous cables and texture, and they're really lovely. So that's one design that's really piqued my interest. Brittany from Crux Fibers just did a podcast. Oh no, I don't think it's in her most recent podcast. But one of them, she talks about these free mitts, I think they're called. And they're wrist warmers, but they come to a point and it loops around your finger. So you can actually just unloop it and pull it down. And I thought those were really smart. And really like useful as a mom who always has your hands and stuff. So it's just kind of like a warming. And if you use like untreated wool, you actually just like having it touch your skin warms you. And you don't have to like have it covering you. It provides warmth just by through touch in some sort of magical way. And Sarah from Grey Owl Knits has designed a sweater, a circular yoke based on her dragonfly chart from her dragonfly mittens, and that's coming out this November, and it's really beautiful, and you should check that out. That's the end of my projects and my plans. So if you'd like to stick around for a story, I have actually a kid's book that my mom found at a thrift store and knew I would like. Oops. And I thought you guys would like to hear it. So this one is called Socks for Supper, and it is by Jack Kent, but it is out of print. So you cannot get it, which is very sad. It's really cute. This one is another one she found, which I won't read to you because you can actually buy this one. It's called Farmer Brown Shears His Sheep, A Yarn About Wool by Terry Sloat. And it's super cute. It's all about the journey from fleece to yarn to sweater, and I really love it. But you can get it off of Amazon for like $11. It's just a paperback. And I just wanted to show you one cute picture. So he shears his sheep, and then they're all naked and they have little pink butt cheeks. So he goes, yeah, he shears his sheep, he spins yarn, or somebody spins yarn, someone dyes yarn, and then there's a nice little twist at the end. So I highly recommend that if you have kiddos in your life that you want to share your love of yarn with. And if you want to stay, I'll read you this one called Socks for Supper. Okay, Socks for Supper by Jack Kent. In a faraway place in a long time ago, there lived an old man and his wife. They were very poor. All they had was a tumble-down house and a tiny turnip garden. One day he said to his wife, "One can get tired of eating nothing but turnips." Not far away there lived a couple who had a cow. The old man and his wife used to look at the cow and dream of milk and cheese. "Maybe they'll sell us some," said the old man. "We don't have any money," his wife reminded him. "Perhaps we could trade them something for some milk," said the old man. "Perhaps we could," his wife agreed, and they searched the house for something to trade. They looked and looked, but the only thing they could find that wasn't in pieces or tatters was a pair of socks. The old man took the socks and went to see the couple who had the cow. A little while later he came happily home again with a bucket of milk and a small cheese. "Oh, this is so good," said his wife. It wasn't long before they began to wish they had some more, but they didn't have any more socks to trade. "I will knit some," said the old woman. But she didn't have any yarn. So she unraveled part of the old man's sweater and knitted a pair of socks with that. They again traded the socks for milk and cheese, and they feasted as they did before. When it was all gone, the old woman knitted another pair of socks, and once more the old man traded them for milk and cheese. Yum! When that was gone, the old woman started knitting again. But now there was only enough yarn left for one sock. "What good is one sock?" the old woman asked. "They won't trade any milk or cheese for that." "We'll see," said the old man, and he took the sock to the couple with the cow. "I only have half a pair of socks this time," he said. We call that a hoe. "Would you trade half a bucket of milk and half a cheese for this?" "Oh no, that's not necessary," said the farmer. "You see," said the farmer's wife, "one sock is exactly what I need." She was knitting her husband a sweater for Christmas. She'd gotten the yarn for it by unraveling the socks, and she just needed one more to finish the job. But the sweater didn't fit, so the wife gave it to the old man, for she noticed he didn't have one. it was just the right size. Bye guys, have a great rest of November.